It's late in the evening for you and early in the morning over here in Bulgaria. And this is why I would like to ask you about the thoughts that you end the day with and the thoughts with which you start the new day. How do you feel when the day is over and then when the new day begins?
I hang out very late at night, so my hours are a little bit off. I usually don't ever see the morning hours. I'm sleeping through them. So when I go out, living in New York, like the jazz scene is huge. You will go to a club at like 1:30 a.m. and stay out till like 4. And then after the jazz club closes, people are just hanging out together. So I've gotten home as late as like 7 a.m. or 10 a.m. even. So to answer your question, my days end at like 2 or 3 a.m. and begin at like noon or 1. So, yeah, I love when the day's over. I love to sleep. And I think if you can live this way, when you wake up in the morning, if you can like accept that it's a new day and that like anything is possible, or just that like maybe the slate isn't wiped clean, but like in a sense it kind of is because like it's new.
Talking about your music, by the sound of your music, the world is sometimes a place of confusing noise, a place full of anxiety, but a place in which you tread gently as if caressing life. So could you please describe your outlook on life and on our world?
I'm definitely not an optimist, and I'm not a pessimist. I call it a realist. I think bad things happen, and I think it's important to always like acknowledge that in life. So I guess in a way it's sort of a negative outlook. But I also think that if you can kind of stay present in your thinking and like in what's happening with every moment of every day, you can like be a really happy person. And I don't really believe in positive thinking, positive life, but in a way I guess it works. If you believe you can do something, you probably can do it. I try to enjoy everything I do because, you know, if you don't enjoy it, you're like miserable all the time. And I really do believe that you are the only person in charge of your life. And if you don't like something, you can change it. And I feel that way about like your attitude and your outlook on every situation. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
And that feeling a vibrant part of life is very much illustrated by the way you create your music, as the instrumentalists do not play the background on which the vocalist sings, but rather you are all in one. So could you please tell us about your concept for music that so beautifully illustrates the way we are in life?
In my music, I think the key word that I like to use is accessible. Music is very important to me, obviously, and I see how music makes people feel. And I think it's important to see how audiences and listeners respond to things as they listen to them. Actually, weirdly enough, I haven't thought about this in years, but in 6th grade, we have to do what's called a science fair, where you have to do a science experiment and everybody like competes against each other. And my experiment was testing classical music and like rap, just two like totally contrasting styles. And then testing like people's blood pressure and seeing if it changed listening to like somber music versus like really high energy. I guess from a young age, I was really fascinated with how people responded to different music and how that made them feel and like the power of music, you know? So in the music I make, I'm very much thinking about how the listener will feel and what they'll take from it. You know, I just hope I can make somebody's like car ride or train ride home a little bit better.
And you are doing it. And as you
Thank you.
As you went back to school, I would like to ask you about the learning process, as the songs we have heard from you by now are from 2012, and right now you're recording some new songs, but those first recordings sound as if you are experimenting, just finding out the borders that you are going to go beyond in your music.
Sure.
So Could you tell us about this learning process that went through between the first EP and the music that you are recording now?
I've been involved with music my whole life. My mom is a singer, so from a very young age, I was put into music lessons, taking piano lessons. I used to play cello. I was in choirs. I took private voice lessons. I went to an arts high school. I'm from Los Angeles and went to an arts high school there as a vocalist, and then went to Berklee College of Music in Boston for my undergrad. You know, with each experience, there's a lot of, you know, with each new teacher, people are teaching you different things. And actually, Gretchen Parlato, who produced the EP, went to my high school, but years before I did. But she would come back to give master classes. And that's how I met her and was just like so smitten. Like she was just so amazing. I'd never heard anyone sing like that. And every time she'd come to LA, I would take a lesson with her. And then when I moved to Boston for college, I'd come to New York like every other weekend to take lessons with her. And she was a huge influence on me, and she produced the EP. So she really guided me and just was so kind and giving to help me through that, and connected me with Taylor Ikesty and Dana Stevens, which was like so amazing. But at that time, yeah, I mean, I was like 19, so I was still very much like finding my way, and I knew what I liked. And again, I knew what message I was trying to send to people, you know, via music or whatever. But in the last year, I started playing guitar, and that honestly really changed me. I can fake my way through piano, but I do not play piano. But guitar now, I just totally fell in love with it and would find myself practicing for hours each day, which is something I never did with all the lessons I took in years prior. And I started writing songs. I'd always made up little motifs or something, but I never wrote full songs. And doing that kind of changed me, because now instead of just covering songs, which is really fun and awesome, I can create something that actually is me. And it sounds like kind of silly, but it honestly is like life-changing in a way. And even to be able to like just play through chords of standards and to sing while I am the one creating the chords, it's just like this really amazing feeling. And so that's changed me a lot. I keep saying that this album is going to be my EP on steroids, because it's very similar, but like a much grander version and a little bit more of me, because I don't really have a producer this time. My roommate, his name is Drew of the Drew, and he is the one that did all the production on Come Running to Me from my EP. So he's doing all my vocals and adding effects and really cool things to this album. But I don't really have someone guiding me as I did for the EP. So this is kind of like, this is me exposed. The album has 5 standards, 2 covers of pop songs, and 3 originals. And it's just a sound that I really relate to and that I really like. So I guess that's a difference, and I'm excited to show the world.
I'm even more impatient after what you told us just now to listen to the new album. Earlier, you said about making the journey back home on the train or in the car of your listener a little bit nicer with your music. But your music has a social impact as well. Listening to drugs and the way you kind of guide our perspective. How do you feel about this social impact that music can have on the lives of its listeners?
Boy, I think it's a huge impact. And I think that, more in like the 60s, people were writing songs to change the world. That was the goal. Like, people were writing about political issues or like much bigger issues, I think. And now love is the constant always, or like dancing or whatever. But when people write songs that really are trying to promote a message of some sort that's more than just like, I missed you, I love you, you broke my heart, I think it could be really cool. But also at the same time, I personally don't think that everyone is listening to lyrics word for word all the time. I think lyrics are for like the 50th listen. Like, really a fan now is like absorbing all of the words. I think there are key lines in songs that people hear and understand and think that that's what the song is about. But the 3 originals that I have, one is the one I sent you, Drugs. And one is actually, incidentally enough, about also what I spoke to you about, that you have the power to do whatever you want. And the third is a love song, because who could not write a love song? I mean, let's be honest. But, yeah, I think it's very important. It's really cool. Music can change the world. It has. So